Hey, LYNN Luker, / legislator, / attorney for the state of Idaho. Yes. Did you file a bunch of paperwork on my behalf? Yes, you did. And I appreciate it, LYNN Luker. You know, it's all coming to me now. LYNN Luker, did you get paid off to quit on me? Because in reality, by reading all of your documents that you had wrote in regards when you first took my case, you know, in all this paperwork that I've got, it kind of does show where you were trying to get the state insurance fund to start paying these bills that they were denying me, which they are saying they'd never denied me anything. But isn't it true also under the Idaho Rules of Professional Conduct, an attorney shall not. Now, you can only really file a complaint against an attorney or anything like that under certain stipulations, and that is under the words shall not. Now, isn't it a fact that under the Idaho Professional Rules of Conduct, an attorney shall not contact a claimant once he withdraws from that claimant? Isn't that true? Since you do sit there in legislation and do kind of help put those rules together. Now, but isn't it a fact that you, Mr. LYNN Luker, after lying in your paperwork for a reason to withdraw, I'm starting to think that you were forced to withdraw. Because I just kind of like putting it all together now, because before I hired you, one of my witnesses, that obviously what you did were without my knowledge, well, I went up into the hills to try to collect my thoughts when you gave me that letter of what you had filed, our settlement offer of $460,000 to the state insurance fund's attorney. I mean, because you also believed that I was, injured under the Odd Lot Victorian Act. You also believed that. And, and to read to see how you were doing everything, and then to turn around and, because you see, Miss Mindy Montgomery, who sent the letter to me here a few months back, saying if I was to enter in any building that the Industrial Commission occupies, I could be arrested, I could spend 6 months in jail, and or be fined $1,000. Now, isn't it a fact also that Miss Mindy Montgomery is the sole director of the entire Industrial Commission? That means that the Industrial Commission occupies every single building of unemployment offices. Isn't that true, Mr. Luker? So, in reality, I can't even set foot in any unemployment offices without feeling that I could be arrested. Now, so, 2, the law firm of Anderson, Julian Hall, and the letter that I wrote requesting you to come back, and also the letter that you sent to me on December 27th, recognizing that you received my letter to return, and that I would have to give up my Social Security disability, though, in order for you to come back. And that's also in that letter that I faxed to you, which I also have the fax letterhead to prove that, that the letter that I have wasn't written prior or after, there we go, that it wasn't written after all this. Because you see, is it pretty complicated? It sure is. Is it, So, I'm starting to wonder, Mr. Luker, because by the sounds of everything, that you were trying to do things there at the beginning, especially, and I think things started to change, especially in that area where you wrote me a letter in regards to my Social Security. about, you know, because Miss Mindy Montgomery was one of my witnesses that I wanted to call on behalf before I hired you, because I'd spoken with her in regards to Sandy Basket, who works for the Idaho State Industrial Commission, about her fraud in the manner that she and Carol Garland, that retired shortly after I did find this so-called job site evaluation, after I had filed my complaint of July 9th of 2008, and after my accident of April 17th of 2008, is, you know, I just, you know, it's overwhelming here. And every time I pick up a piece of paper that I'd taken out of my storage unit and brought back up here to Idaho with me, because a lot of my shit's still there in Idaho in a storage unit, that's where I found a lot of this paperwork that you had so-called filed. Because isn't it true, Mr. LYNN Luker, that the 3 of the 4 binders that you had in your possession, that you dropped off at the Industrial Commission when you quit, isn't it true that that 3 of those binders are the binders that I gave to you, that I had in my possession for 7 months, because they had to send me copies of everything that they had in their file, because again, they were withholding documents from medical records that I requested, because that's how I found out about this job site evaluation that should have been in those files when I requested them, and they sent them to me in June 30th of 2008. Now, you know, and then to have somebody from, you know, I got in my filings also, I have something from the Capitol, which Mindy Montgomery had talked to somebody, and that person was supposed to write a letter to me somewhere, you know, up there in the, you know, somewhere in legislation or somewhere over there, to write me a letter to explain me how workers' compensation laws work. But, you know, I haven't received a letter like that from anybody like that name that I had read, which, you know, since I can't get an attorney that has the nutsack, again, to truly come before and help me to produce all this shit to the Idaho Supreme Court, which, again, I mean, it's me, the injured worker, against an Idaho state legislator who took me off the internet, along with the Idaho State Industrial Commission, that's supposed to be a referee, I guess, between the injured worker and the insurance company, which again is the Idaho State Insurance Company. So I am a single person who almost lost his life in his arm in a job, clearly not partly my fault at all. It wasn't even nearly close to my fault, because I did nothing wrong but get up that morning, go to work, and do the job that I was trained to do. And because I did that, my job was found to be in 21 serious violations due to that through OSHA, just, you know, weeks after my injury, because I contacted OSHA. I'm the one that contacted Lifeways to help get the psychological part where I was having these overwhelming nightmares of a machine sucking me into it. But, you know, I guess, you know, I'm fine. So, you know, LYNN Luker, I just had to get this out there too. You know, I think there at the end, I kind of have a feeling, in my opinion, because we all have a right to an opinion, as your doctors do in their false statements, including Mr. Crum, who made in his statement that I had, that I was, right here. This is his report. Remember, Mr. Luker, when we were, when I had to come to your office at 7 o'clock at night to do this thing? Right here, because you all are trying to take a prison record. Because, you know, I made a mistake, you know, and I got caught with a possession charge, and I did time for it. So now what you want to do is you want to take that prison time, and you want to make it out like I had been in prison all of my life. Because you see, even in Sandy Basket, in her notes, you can see where, you know, she had wrote that I'd been in prison for several years prior to 1993. You show me anywhere, and I'll walk away from this lawsuit. Anywhere that I had been in prison prior to 1993. I may have been incarcerated for 5 months and 21 days in Oregon, but otherwise, that's the longest I've ever been in jail in Oregon, and that was up until I moved from 84, no, to 74, to the time I moved over here in Idaho, over there in Idaho in 1993. So, for her to say that I've been in prison for several years prior to 1993, and then you actually take the time that I sat in prison for my wrong, which I educated myself because I learned how to read, and then for her to say that I was incarcerated also in the year 2006. Oh, those are just misstatements. Oh, those are things that supposedly it's what I had said when I went to see Sandy Basket, which we all know that's a lie. Because why would I want to say shit like that when it's not true? Why would I tell somebody I was incarcerated when I wasn't? Where in the hell would that help me at all? And then for her to say that I was non-bondable also. Now, why would she put that down? Because I didn't say that I was non-bondable. Because it is about how I had to make a living during my lifetime. Because of my non-knowledge of reading, I had to work through tip services all my life. But you all are trying to make it out like, but anyway, Mr. Crum, which is part of the report that the Industrial Commission had put on their webpage in connection to me, that's already published, that they're trying to, again, I wasn't even supposed to know that shit was even published. I mean, I would have never known it. And like I've already been telling everybody, if I hadn't made it this far, I wouldn't have found this. If I hadn't made it this far, I wouldn't have found this. And I'll be a son of a... I wouldn't have... If I hadn't have made it this far, I would have never known that the lies that the Industrial Commission had put in their findings of facts and conclusions of law are posted. Because I was trying to figure out what the hell happened. Because I came up here to Washington to try to move forward until the Industrial Commission did do their findings of facts and conclusions of law based on, I guess, the so-called hearing that we had November the 10th of 2010. And here it is, 2013. Now, LYNN Luker, what's going on here, man? I ain't even started on the Industrial Commission shit yet. That's going to be put on here. Right now, you also are part of my claim for ineffective assistance of counsel. I added that onto my appeal. Now, because of the altered documents that I have uncovered, now truly, I really don't even know what that is. Because again, when you file an appeal against the Industrial Commission, you have to send that writing that you do to them. That's the scam that y'all have. And then, and the alterations of all these documents, now people also don't understand. Now let me explain to everybody. In the 2 years, because of my ignorance, I had to accept that word when I read it. I wasn't happy about it at first, because I may be ignorant in the way that the system works, is how their attorneys have put it to me in a writing, and confused. Well, okay, I was ignorant at the beginning of my filings because I was sending you all the originals that I were writing. And then you all would stamp it, received, and then send that a copy, and then send me back the originals. Now, or a copy of the original. So that's why I've got all these altered documents. Because in a lot of these documents that I took out of the storage unit, when I went down there in February the 11th of 2013 to file that 2-hour video to the Capitol, and it was delivered, of the altered documents. My documents, you can clearly see, I'll be a son of a, where they have taken statements out of bits and pieces of my filings and added them together as I had filed that document. Now, what the hell's going on here, man? What did I ever do to you guys? What? You guys, because of my injury, I know that. Because it's pretty severe, isn't it? You know, can I hold here and smoke a cigarette? Oh, man, yeah, I can. Have I wanted to cut my arm off because I got tired of the pain? Yeah, I wanted to do that too. But you see, that's where Lifeways really, truly helped me. And that's where Mr. Jimson, the one that truly finally started giving me medication to help me control my way of thinking because of the intense dreams that I was having. But if you read his report as a whole and not, you know, how it's worded, you have that used where you just take pieces of somebody's statements to make it untrue. Something about, yeah, anyway, too much. It's way too much. But so, LYNN Luker, what's going on here, man? I caught you all. It's not that I caught you all, because I was supposed to be a poor historian now that I have recently figured that out, is I wasn't supposed to be able to remember this or remember that or anything like that, but you got to remember this, how I had to make a living because I was illiterate. I had to learn from examples. I had to have somebody show me how to do something, and I could pick it up that quick. That's just like when I learned how to read while I was in prison, and I got my high school equivalency while I was in prison for possession, the only time I have been incarcerated. Now, but you all, if you take what Sandy Basket has said, but the commission is trying to say that it was just misspoken, bullshit. Y'all knew what you were doing. It's been 16 minutes. I need to bring it to an end already. You see what I mean? It's overwhelming, man. It took me 16 minutes. And that's just this little part. I want to go on with my life. I'm over here in Washington because I tried to move forward. And it took them a year because I was living over there and they weren't quite sure how to really respond to how to do their findings of fact because I was there and they knew how hot I was because I'm very open about everything because I have nothing to hide. I'd like to bring it to an end, but Miss Rachel LaBar, who likes to fuck with me every time I get on the phone to get me pissed off because I know what she's trying to get me to do. But it really, if you take those 152 that I filed before August 1st of 2012 phone records, which again, communication with an appellate is prohibited. But Jesus Christ, I got 152 pages on how, you know, I had gotten in a wreck because I was on medication. I totaled out somebody's vehicle because I was on the medication. The police officer asked me to go because I got the police report here because I wasn't even cited for it. Thank God, because I totaled out this guy's thing. I did over $40,000 worth of damage to somebody's vehicle. But you know what? He didn't want me to get cited. That police officer asked me, Mr. Clark, could you please go and get me your medication that you take? So I went and got my medication because it's right close to my house. So I walked over, got my medication, and gave him the 8 bottles of medication that I have to take. And in his report, 7 out of the 8 could cause drowsiness. But then again, that was an issue about transportation that you all kept denying me because you all kept telling me, well, you have a driver's license, and we're paying you under blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you see, I wasn't supposed to be driving. Again, who's responsible for that? I got over $4,000 worth of damage to my truck. But, again, good thing I had insurance. Only liability, though. But you know how far my insurance jumped? Because of your neglect on helping me